past few years, I've been in college at NHTI, the local community college in Concord, New Hampshire, working towards my liberal arts associate's degree. I took last semester off for the film launch, and this January I started attending Southern New Hampshire University, a 4-year college, starting in January, with a major in history. I also had a job last summer at a music venue in New Hampshire called Meadowbrook, scanning tickets. I got to see a bunch of free shows. Through my film work and the job and volunteer work, I am hoping to continue to make new friends.
That all sounds wonderful. So I'm gonna, yeah. And yeah, I wish you the best with your finishing your degree as well. So I'm gonna pass it off to Sharice now.
How long did it take you to make the film, Samuel?
I think Samuel was ready to talk about Samuel has to pre-program his answers in because that's the way he dictates them out. And I think there was a question about the favorite part about making the film, but I can answer the how long. It took 4 years to make the film. So thank you for that question. But I think it was a labor of love. We had a great time making it, a lot of travel adventures, and Samuel did have a lot of challenges making the film, but he really had some favorite parts of making the film. So, Samuel, if you want to talk about your favorite parts of making the film, that would be fun.
The interviews were awesome. They blew my mind. I reviewed the best sections from the interviews with my dad and we picked out the most powerful lines. I wanted to have lots of humor in the film, so we included some hilarious lines from interviews, especially Keith and May Soon. But Judy Human was pretty funny too. My favorite line in the film is Keith telling me his advice for sex. He said rule number 1. Rule number 2. All the way down to 100. Bag it up. That really cracked me up.
Yeah, well, Samuel, I know Keith, so he can be quite hilarious. I know a couple of people in here. Are you aware of AAPD? Maybe you can find more about, them and get interactive with them as well, Samuel.
Yeah, we do actually collaborate with AAPD a lot. That's a great group. And they're one of our national outreach partners that help us get the word out about the film and the activities we're doing. So thank you.
And thank you for doing all the hard work of like the interviewing questions and having these amazing conversations. Whenever I talk about this film, and when people get interested, I'm like, he got Judy Human to talk about sex. And I just like, I love that so much. So yeah, and then I'll pass it off to Jessica. I saw that she was added in here twice, so let me make sure that got the right one. So I know some people add on twice for one for audio, one for video.
And make sure as while you're doing that, and if you look in the chat, we're pasting some information about both our social media if you want to know where the film is going next and when it's going to be nationally broadcast and streaming, and also how you can host a screening in your own community or college. We have an opportunity for free kits to groups that are eligible. And we also put a survey in there if you don't mind at some point today, just clicking through that and it's really quick, but it really helps us report back to our funders about how the film is having an impact. So sorry, Emily, go ahead.
No, you're fine. So I'm just gonna check in with Jessica again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Hi, it's truly an honor to meet you and ask a question. What I would love to know is after this part of your journey between interviewing these mentors and developing the film, could you share advice to schools and colleges as well as disability organizations?
My advice to children, teens, and young adults with disabilities is to be proud of yourself. And if someone talks down to you, stand up for yourself. My advice to parents is to include your kids in everything, like my family has done. My advice to schools and colleges is to be inclusive. All of my schools have been inclusive, and that made a big impact on my education. Find new ways to help people with disabilities, especially for employment and social life.
That's great advice for disability organizations, Samuel. I'm just going to read something out of the chat, Emily, and then you can we can go to the next question. Somebody wrote, Samuel, many years back, we brought Including Samuel to our school district through our involvement with special education PTA. I would love to bring this movie to our district community. So that's cool. A lot of people are who have shown Including Samuel are now showing this new film as a way to bring people up to speed on life now for Samuel and as an adult. So we would love for you to do that. And definitely click through to that host a screening link in the chat, and that tells you how to do it.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that's I really encourage people to share this film with their communities as well, for it to inspire change for other people, to really like share that humor as you were noting earlier, and just really like share the joy and the passion that was behind this project. So, all right, for our next question, I'm going to pass it off to Sarah.
Hello, and it's an honor to be able to meet with you and to speak with you. Thank you so much for being able to create this film. It's just amazing. It shows your life today and the experiences that you go through and that we all go through as a community, not only day in and day out, but you also show the side of a parent as well. My question to you is, can you share a little bit about your school journey and how you advocated for yourself?
I've been in regular education classes since preschool. I attended my IEP meetings in elementary school, and in middle and high school, I started co-leading them. I was pretty nervous about going to high school, but it was awesome. One day, a girl at school that I liked asked me to eat lunch with her. I got so excited that I kicked my feet out and broke the foot plate right off of my chair. My social and extracurricular life was just as important as academics. When I was in high school, I was part of the school TV station, the yearbook staff, and school newspaper. I was a member of the Be the Change Club. We organized multicultural events at the school and welcomed new Americans who moved to Concord. I played unified soccer, basketball, and track. I've advocated for more accessibility at my high school. I couldn't sit with my friends in the bleachers at the basketball games. I asked the principal and the athletic director to bring the student section down to the court. Then I was able to sit with my friends. But the city owns the football field and they are not very accessible. So I testified at the city council meeting and asked them to rebuild the football bleachers. I won't give up until the football stands are really wheelchair accessible. Even though I'm not in school anymore, I have friends in school who use wheelchairs, and I want them to have access to the whole school community.
Oh, I can tell from the film you already have like a great sense of humor, but thank you for sharing that story with us. So I'm going to pass it along to Richard now.
Yeah, thanks. And for anybody who's like a college accessibility specialist or something here in the room, do you have any advice for college accessibility specialists based on your own experiences in college?
Some of my favorite recent memories have been spending time on my college campus being social and making friends. I have found it can be challenging to find organized activities that are accessible, the same way they were in high school. I am hopeful that one day most events will be accessible so all students can experience them. It is exciting to me that the ride ahead is sparking some of these conversations.
And you could see that Samuel's wearing his Southern New Hampshire University sweatshirt. I think you mentioned this earlier, Samuel, but since the movie came out, Samuel transferred from a community college to a four-year university. So that's exciting. Big new phase in Samuel's life. And they've been great. I have to, from my perspective, Samuel, do you agree that SNU has been really good at their accessibility supports and the campus?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been as was the community college.
It's really wonderful, and that's just how it should be. So, and what we hope for disabled college students all across the nation. So, yeah, thank you. And I'm glad that you have that support that you deserve, and that you have kids like Judy Human is taught really hard for us to have. So, all right, I'll pass off the next question to Charisse again. Sharice might be having problems with her technical difficulties, so I'm just going to share what she wanted to ask. So basically, Sharice is part of our board and has been a part of so many different disability leadership positions. And basically wanted to ask, what advice do you have for school leaders and future educators to create spaces that value and include all students?
Don't segregate. Create a sense of belonging. Have high expectations for all students. Make the entire building and extracurricular activities accessible.
Definitely 100% agree. All right, I'm going to pass off to Jessica.
Hi again. I wanted to ask this that while we explored these themes in the introduction and through the film, I wanted to ask you directly why you chose to make The Right Ahead.
My goal for the film is that people won't talk down to disabled people. I want everyone to know that disabled people demand respect and rights. And I want other young adults with disabilities to have the same opportunities that I've had for healthcare, inclusive education, college, assistive technology, jobs, making friends, advocacy, and independent living. I hope parents who will watch this film will see that they should include their kids in everything, like my family has done. And I hope schools and colleges who watch this film will commit to include disabled students alongside their non-disabled peers. All of my schools have been inclusive, and that made a big impact on my education and led to my life now as a filmmaker. Our film will let people learn from disability role models about how to live a full life with a disability as they transition to adulthood. This film will help people understand how to talk to me and other people with communication challenges. Young people with disabilities who have seen the film so far have told me that they have the same questions as I do about dating, sex, moving out of their own family's home, how to respond when people talk down to them, work, and college. That means a lot to me.
Yeah, that really does mean a lot. And yeah, and the film is a really great example of like all the impacts it can and it should and it does make for us to have disability justice in every aspect of our lives. Okay. Oh, and then let's see. Oh, and then we also got a chat from Richard saying really important for our current political environment as well. All right. So my next question, since you mentioned that you're a college student, but I also wanted to ask what other work have you done and or are doing in addition to filmmaking?
You want to talk about your Meadowbrook job, Samuel? The Meadowbrook.
I had a summer job at a music venue in New Hampshire called Meadowbrook, scanning tickets. I got to see a bunch of free shows, like Chris Stapleton and Train. Through my film work and my jobs, I am hoping to make more friends and maybe find a girlfriend.
One of the adventures Samuel had at Meadowbrook was that I'm sure most of you have been to a concert or a sporting event where you scan your phone on a kiosk and it reads the ticket. Well, everyone wanted to keep scanning their phone on Samuel's communication device, and that was not going to do anything. So Samuel got a kick out of that. Had to redirect everybody. Samuel, someone said next year come out here to Coachella. So that would be a fun show to go to.
Yeah, you
More
make a lot of
travel.
friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of like hearts and thumbs up reactions in the chat and the reaction. So yeah, it's really great. You have a lot of people resonating with you. All right, and then I'll pass off the next question to Sarah.
Can you tell us about your job at the music venue and how the job search and application process went, as well as how you navigated accommodations?
One of my direct support professionals, Emily, had the idea of working at a local music venue, the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion, in Guilford, New Hampshire. It's not too far from my house, and they get lots of great shows there. I wasn't sure what it would be like to work there, but I reached out to them by email and they invited me to a job fair. They were welcoming and very open to having me work there as a ticket scanner. Everyone was really nice right from the beginning. I was hired. They asked me what type of accommodations I might need. I told them I needed to have one of my direct support professionals there with me all the time. They got each of my DSP's official t-shirts and badges to match mine. I also explained that I would also need some time during my shift to get my medicine and have access to a larger family restroom. I also told them that I probably wouldn't have the energy to do more than a couple of shifts a week, and there may be times where I need to call out if I'm not feeling well, or if the weather was really hot because that's tough on me. They said none of that would be a problem. I was able to manage my schedule through their online platform, and also by emailing them if something came up last minute. They were always very friendly and supportive. I met some cool colleagues, and saw a few great shows like Chris Stapleton, Train, and the Pixies. They usually had me stationed at the accessible ticketing lane, which gave me more space for me and my wheelchair, and my DSP. I recorded a message on my communication device that told people how to scan their tickets. At the end of the message, I also added a joke, saying don't do anything I wouldn't do, which made people smile and laugh. The one funny thing that happened was that people sometimes tried to scan their tickets on my communication device instead of the scanning kiosk. I went on the staff appreciation evening cruise, which was a blast. The job definitely made my summer more fun. I plan to do it again next summer.
Well, that's wonderful. I hope you get to make more memories this summer. And that's a lot of green flags about a job and to be inclusive of disabled people and supportive, especially since you give so much to your work as well. And yeah, someone did Pixies with 3 exclamation in the chat, and that was my face about like when I went like with my mouth open, that was just me being jealous. So someone else resonated with that as well. All right. Well, I just want to say thank you to the people who sent questions in advance, and those were the questions. So now I want to turn it over to the questions that we've gotten um, in the Q&A section. So let's see, the first one. Okay, so participants at CIL of Northwest Florida would like to know ideas of how to do all these things and the activities and travel you do if you do not have the finances to do so, how to obtain finances or funds to build houses. So that's the first question.
Yeah, and that might be one I can help a little bit because my wife and I work hard on some of the behind the scenes paperwork and all the applications that we have to do. Um, there's, especially in this time when a lot of benefits are in question, whether it's Medicaid or the Americans with Disabilities Act, the IDEA, there's all these things are being tossed around. But I'll tell you where we are in the moment, and that is that, a lot of people are eligible, of course, for Medicaid, and Medicaid is not only health insurance, but can also provide support for something called home and community-based services if you are eligible. And that's Samuel's budget that helps hire the direct support professionals and other things that help him live the full life you saw in the film. So if you think you might be eligible, it's really important to talk to your local organizations that can help you figure out if you're eligible for home and community-based supports. It's unfortunate in our society, it's easier to like get money to live in a nursing home than it is to get the support you need at home, which is just ridiculous, but that's the way it is. But there are programs out there. There's also Section 8 housing vouchers, and sometimes there can be a long wait list for those. But if you're eligible and you have a significant disability, you could sometimes get bumped up. And that is how Samuel helps pay for his place. He actually rents it from us, and Section 8 voucher that he's eligible for helps pay the rent. Obviously, there's like Social Security income. There's so many different things that are worth looking into. There's also a fair number of nonprofit foundations that support things that aren't covered by benefits. So it's a great question, and there's so many different things we could talk about. But if you really don't have access to this information, you could also contact your local parent information center. Everyone has access to a parent information center. And whether you're an adult or a parent or whatever, they can help you navigate all these benefits and these resources. For us, I mean, the way that we travel, like you saw in the film, it's part of our budget that we raise money for our film project. So it's not just like flying out of our wallets. We actually raise a lot of money through foundations and other organizations to do our film work. We create a budget, and part of that budget is travel for us and for the direct support professionals. That's the work we do. I hope that answers it to some extent. There's a lot more to talk about, but that's a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a comprehensive answer. So another question we have is in the chat. So what advice do you have for other parents, DPS, so disability service professionals, and other professionals?
Well, I think Samuel gave some great advice already about inclusion and really helping him live the full life, to not segregate, to live that full life, and to create the kind of accommodations that Samuel and other people with disabilities need to work and to go to college and to live full lives. Um, I would just add two things from a parent perspective. One is we've tried to support Samuel's self-determination from a very young age. And I think for family members and other professionals and DSPs, and our DSPs do that so wonderfully. Make sure Samuel always has agency, has his own self-determination, that can make decisions about his own life, and constantly reinforcing that Samuel is in control of his life, and that's hard because a lot of people with disabilities, for a lot of reasons, are being told where to go to school, what classroom to be in, when to go to the doctors, when to get a blood draw. You're from a very early age, I think you're being told a lot what to do, and it's very active to create that self-determination. And then the other thing I would say is something called the dignity of risk, which Samuel I know lives that very fully, which is the idea that you give someone dignity by letting them take risks. And if you see, in the film, there's a lot of risks that we take, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that happen that don't go well sometimes, and that we have to navigate a lot of adventures. And so sometimes, the kind of adventures that we navigate are challenging when we travel, but it's a risk that Sam wants to take. And I think actually along those lines, Sam, I think you have something you could share about some of the challenges that it took in making the film. Do you want to address that?
Setting up and getting all of the interviews done was the most challenging part of creating the film. We had a lot of misadventures during our travels. On our flight to Indianapolis to interview Andrew Peterson, they turned my power wheelchair on its side both ways. And it got damaged both ways. On our trip to DC to interview Judy Heumann and Bob Williams, we had a 6-hour flight delay, and then as we were finally boarding our plane, another passenger talked down to me, like I was a 3-year-old. On our New York City trip to interview Keith Jones and Maysoon Zaid, I had a seizure. But we still got the filming done on all the trips.
Yeah, that really shows that as disabled people we have to be very, as you said in the film, patient and also very adaptable too with like challenges, whether it's from impairments or ableism. And that's why it's really important for us to have support of our community.
Yeah.
So,
Emily, there was a question, maybe I can answer the beginning and then Samuel could
yeah.
add on to it. There's a question that says, what is the device Samuel uses to communicate with others? So there are obviously lots of different kinds of communication devices out there and different products. His happens to be a grid pad. But Samuel used to use a Dynavox. You had gosh, now I can't remember all the different brands you've had. A lot of them. I think this is your third major device over the course of your life. But we like this one because you could see part of it, and you saw in the film. There's a screen on the faces people that you can speak to. But I think Samuel has some really good advice about some tips on communicating with people with speech disorders and with communication device users. So Sam, I thought you might want to share that great advice.
Be patient and do not talk down to me. Ask me how I best communicate. Slow down the pace of the conversation to create more space for me to contribute. If you don't understand me, ask me to repeat what I said. If I'm typing on my device, don't start another conversation. Please wait for me to finish.
I love that advice.
Me too. Okay, and then I think we have time for one last question. So, what would you suggest for disabled activists who want to develop a similar project but may face challenges with defining funding, resources, team members, etc.?
Well, I'll start as a person who's been doing storytelling for like 37 years now, both first with photojournalism and now for film. What's beautiful about our current day is there's so many different ways of telling your story and getting it out into the world. When I started, it was like I was shooting film on a camera and we had to go into the dark room and develop it. And I had to have access to a newspaper, a printed newspaper. I sound very old when I'm saying this, but it's true, to get the word out. But now we've all got really amazing cameras or many people have amazing cameras on their phones that you can use. And they're like feature films that are being shot now on iPhones and other similar smartphones. Social media gives people an outlet for sharing your story and telling your story. There's some really simple editing programs for both audio and for video. So what I'd say is that you have to start somewhere. And I've been doing this a long time, and now Samuel's been doing this quite a while too. And we have to earn credibility and we had to earn the trust of people that were going to fund us. And it didn't start out with a film like this. It started out with much smaller projects. So my advice would be start small, start doing projects that are not as ambitious as maybe this and just do what you can do to kind of have smaller projects along the way. I mean, I know Samuel, I think you've actually, this is the biggest project we've ever done, but you've done a fair number of other multimedia projects that were smaller or different. I don't know if you just want to share a few of those, and then we'll probably have to wrap it up pretty soon. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I've done some other journalism and film projects. I made a film called Rolling Through Downtown Concord about rebuilding our downtown to create accessibility on our main street. I did a 7-part newspaper series for the Concord Monitor called The Sports Sit Down. I interviewed people with sports-related jobs about how COVID and the racial justice movement affected their jobs. I also made a short movie about Judy Human for a high school project. The movie was featured in the Breaking Down Barriers Film Festival in Moscow, Russia. I interviewed some of the presidential candidates in 2020. For another project, I worked with the Disability Rights Center NH to do video interviews with all 8 major candidates in New Hampshire about disability rights issues, including voting rights, funding for adult disability services, special education, healthcare, housing, and employment. All of these are on my YouTube channel.
And I just posted in the chat here's Samuel's work that he just mentioned on his YouTube channel. And then our co-producer Erica, who's helping today, she posted in the chat a link to My Disability Roadmap, which was the film that won the Emmy Award, and it's free to watch on the New York Times YouTube channel. And it also has audio description and Spanish captions options as well. So it's kind of a short version of the film you saw today, but you can watch it and share it freely. So yeah. So, but I think Emily, we on our end, I think we've got to wrap it up, unfortunately. There was one last question I think I can answer quickly. Are seizures why you don't use eye gaze? And Sam, I think you'd agree. We've tried eye gaze. Eyes, like many other parts of his body, he has a hard time focusing in one spot for a long time. The muscles he has a hard time controlling, and you need really specific muscle control of your eyes to use eye gaze. So it's been really tough to do it. It doesn't have to do with seizures so much as just the difficulty of for Samuel of moving his eyes in one specific direction for long periods of time. So it's a good question though.
Thank you so much for this wonderful discussion, the advice, the insights, and just the overall reflections of the power of storytelling and community really shows. So, yeah, thank you everyone for coming. Please stay connected. Please fill out the survey link that's in the chat. There is social media platforms you can follow, both the Ride Ahead and Dream, and hope everyone has a great weekend. So thank you again for our directors so much. She did a credible, amazing, powerful job with this, and I look forward to all your projects to come.
Thanks, Emily. Sam was giving the big wave, and I have to read one comment to you, Sam. It's from Amanda. She wrote, I really enjoyed the film, although as a fan of Ohio State University, I have to say there was a bit of an overrepresentation of Michigan. Haha. Well, you know where I went to school now, Amanda, and it wasn't Ohio State University. But thank you for that. Well, we take it in the spirit of which it's intended. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you, Emily, for all the work you put into and your team into organizing this. We really appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Speaking today. So thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.